Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. In this video we will be creating a simple app which is a password manager Android app in which we will implement or follow the Mvvm design pattern which is a fit for a modern Android development, as well as implementing the clean architecture principle. So let's take a look before we talk about what is Mvvm and clean architecture. Let's take a look on the app that we want to make. So here is the passwords list that we add. We'll present them in the screen. This will be the service title. This will be the password. And here, if you click, you can add this service. Let's TikTok. The username of, let's for example, Jihad Amzad. Let's the password. Let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. And here, if you want any additional notes, let's say that it is for testing. And if we hit save, this is what we will get. It will be appending to the end of the list. So if we click on it, it will be filled in the forms in the add edit screen. So if we change the entry, it will be reflected, as you can see. Jihad. Now we can also here delete passwords like this. We can restore it and restore it. So basically this is a simple app illustrating the Mvvm design pattern as well as the clean architecture principle. So now let's take a look at what is Mvvm. So what is Mvvm first? So Mvvm design pattern is a pattern in which makes us able to maintain it, test it, and write good code wherever the size of your project becomes. So despite of your project is very big or very small, Mvvm design pattern makes you able to maintain it and able to test it. So if you didn't follow the Mvvm design pattern, it will be much harder to maintain or test it. And most of the companies which is making Android apps is already following this design pattern. So what is Mvvm? Mvvm is just a simple design pattern. So Mvvm says that your view, which means your UI, doesn't need to know how to get the data or where to get the data. So simply the view, which is the UI, is interested only on getting the data from the model or from the view model in Android. And then the view model is also not interested on where to get the data from, but it is interested in how to get the data, which means the data would be from a remote data source or from a local database such as Room. So the view model is not interested in where to get the data from. Now the view model requests the data from the repository, and the repository in turn is interested in where to look for the data. So the repository might get the data from remote data source or from local database. So by that, we move from the hierarchy from a view requests the data from the view model requests data from the repository, and the repository requests data from either a remote data source or a local database. And this is what Mvvm is. And by the way, for those who don't know, Mvvm is what is Mvvm is model view model. Mvvm is a shorthand for this term. So basically, this is a brief introduction to Mvvm. And if you want to know more about it, just visit this YouTube video. I will make sure to post the link in the video description. This goes a good introduction. This is a good introduction to Mvvm in Android. So you will learn the basics of what is Mvvm in Android. All right. Now we have covered what is Mvvm. Now let's see what is clean architecture. So clean architecture is a way on how to structure your project, which means your folders, your files, and so on. This helps you, like we said in the Mvvm part, it helps you to maintain your code as long as your project gets bigger, as well as other developers will get to know your project, what it is about, without looking at your code. From your project structure, other developers will know what is in this package. This is, let's say, in this package is the UI. In this package is the data or model. In this package, we save data. This is what clean architecture gives us. Now, before we start, this was a brief introduction about Mvvm and clean architecture, because in this app we will be implementing it using Mvvm, clean architecture, as well as dependency injection. We will talk about it later, and a Jetpack compose. Now, let's talk about what is dependency injection. Now, dependency injection is a way in which we can inject dependencies to a class without rewriting it every time we need them. So let's take a look. Let's take example of a car, a class called car. The car class needs an engine and a wheel. Let's say these two properties just. So a car needs an engine and needs wheels. So in every file or every another class we want to reference or create an object of or an instance of this class, which is car, we need to provide these properties to this class. So dependency injection makes us able to define it only once in our whole project. So without dependency injection, wherever we create an instance of car, we will rewrite its properties again and again. So let's say we created it 10 times or 20 times in our project. We will write the same code 20 or 10 times. Dependency injection, we write it only once. Now, if you want to deep dive into dependency injection, and especially Dagger Hilt, because we can use dependency injection in Dagger Hilt. We have Dagger 2 and Dagger Hilt. We will be using in this project Dagger Hilt, as it's more as it's based on Dagger 2, which is a Google. Which is built by Google, and also Dagger Hilt is built by Google, but Dagger Hilt is more simplified version of Dagger 2. So if you want to learn more about it, just visit this YouTube video. I will also make sure to paste the link in the description down below. I learned Dagger Hilt from this video, so don't forget to watch this video for more details. Alright, now let's stop talking and step ahead into coding. Now, before to start coding, we want to set up our project dependencies and plugins. So we go to the build.gradle app level, and here we should paste these two plugins in this plugins section, or rather than you can just download the initial setup of this project in my GitHub repository. I will include it in the video description down below. So this will come with all the setup, so you don't need to copy or paste dependencies or anything else. But you should know a brief dependency about what we will include in this project. So we will include this plugin, which is Kotlin annotation processor, and this specific to Dagger Hilt plugin. Also, we need to add quite a bit of dependencies. This is composed dependencies, which is one for the view model, one for the navigation between different screens. This is for Hilt navigation. This will be useful for a view model, because we can inject dependencies or view model dependencies using Hilt. So we need this for view model injection. And this is icons, because we will use some icons in our project. These are specific to Dagger Hilt, so you need to include them. And also these two are for room database, because we will save data locally. And this is Kotlin extension specific for room. You also want to include it. And also we will go to the build.gradle project level and make sure this to be included as a dependency in the build script section. This is for the Dagger Hilt dependency injection. And make sure to the Kotlin version to be 1.6.10, or I think higher will be also okay, because if it was lower, it will not work. I tested and it didn't work for me. All right, and now this all the setups we need to do. Now let's take a look at how we will structure our folders or packages using a clean architecture principle. Alright, first of all, you will need to ask yourself, what is the app doing? What are the features included in the app? So in this example, we have only one feature, which is including password or password manager. So we put we create a package called feature password, and this is for this will be our code, or our project will be all of it inside this package, because this project has only one feature, which is password managing. All right. Now in this feature, we will create some other packages. Like we have the data, which is responsible for getting the data from either from the remote data source or local database. But here we are using a local database, so it's room. So we will create package called data, and in the data package we will also create some other packages. We will which is data source, and we will create another package inside data, not inside data source. So delete data source and type repository. We will get to know these packages later when we finish this or structuring our packages. So here we have these packages now. So basically this data project or this data package is all about getting or making operations on our data, which is on our model, which is password, because password will be the model of our project. So we can get all passwords. We can get password by ID. We can delete password or insert password or update password. This will be defined in the repository of this model, and in the data source will be the database, which is the room database. And will be the data access object. You should know about it. This is room specific. This is outscope of this video. All right. Now we created the data package. Now we want to create another package, not inside data but inside the feature itself, which is domain. Now domain, what is this new package name? Domain will store the model which we will be working about or on, which is the table, in other words, in database. So we will be working on passwords. So password will be the table, which is the model. So we will create another package inside domain, which is the model. This is what we talked about earlier, and we will create another package called repository. Repository, not under model but under domain. Repository, and this will be the operations that we need in our feature, which is get all passwords, get password by ID, insert, and so on. We will create another package inside the domain, which is the use cases. Now this is new. I bet you have heard about model, repository, data access object, and all of this stuff. But use cases, I think you're new to this term. So use cases is a general all about the different actions that we can make in this feature, which are the getting all passwords, insert password, delete password. So use cases will be different classes, and each class will have one and only one role. So let's take a look example at get passwords class. This get passwords class will only make one action, which is getting all passwords from the database, and the same for insert, delete, or other actions. This will get more clearer as we proceed in our tutorial. All right, for the domain we have finished. Now we have another package, but now inside the feature, which is presentation. Now what is presentation? Presentation is only UI. So presentation is all what you are seeing on the screen. So the domain can contain the different screens you have in your project, or the view models included in your project. So we will be having two screens in this feature, which is the first will be password screen. This will display for us the different passwords we added, as well as another screen, which is edit password. This is responsible for adding or editing passwords, different passwords we want. All right, and you can include other packages such as util. Now this is not all of the developers include, but utils is a good way to separate UI, which is screens, or utils that you can see it like settings or not view related things. So in here you can define the different screens you want, or any other settings you want. All right, and now what you will be creating, we will create two last or packages inside the password package and add edit password. They will be the same. Add edit password package will contain another package contains components. This will be specific to these components will be specific to add edit password screen. So all of the components included in the add edit screen will be under this directory. The same for passwords. So components as well. All right, now we have finished, and one last, I promise this will be one last package, which is the dependency injection or package. So this will be in the root project directory. Just type di, stands for dependency injection, and here we will start creating our files, and we will start coding. Now in the root folder, we want to create a file, which is a class, and we can type the name of it as password up. This is specific for Dagger Hilt. So Dagger Hilt want to know the specific or the different modules what you want to provide, or your project. So you should define for it a class and annotate it as Hilt Android app. This should be done for Dagger Hilt to work, and then extend it from application. This is all we need to do in this file, and then you should go to manifest, and here you should define the name of the application, and you should match it to the file or the class we just created, which is for Dagger Hilt. This should be done for Dagger Hilt to work correctly. Now we want to mark the main activity as as the entry point. So Dagger Hilt should know where is the entry point for our project. And in this case, we only have one entry point, which is the only activity will be in our project, and this is the main activity. So you can type Android entry point, and this is enough to Dagger Hilt to work. Now we will start creating the module for Dagger Hilt. This will be an object. Type up module, and now you should annotate it with module. Yes, Dagger Hilt contains a lot of annotations that you should include, but this is very simple to understand and to know where to type them. And the second one is which is install in. So what you want or where you want these modules that we will define them now, where you want them to be installed on. Most of the cases this will be a singleton component in class, because you want for each dependency to be created once, so it follows the singleton pattern only once. This is why we are using dependency injection. We want to create this dependency only once in our whole project. Alright, now we will get back later to this file. Now we'll start by defining the model. So model, where we put the model will be in the domain and in the model directory. So here we will create a Kotlin data class, and will be password. Now this will be this will include some properties, alright, such as we will start with the primary key, which will be, of course, be ID. Don't be scared of this sentence. This is also all about creating an ID that will be auto-generated by the room database. So even if we put it by default is equal to null, this will not be equal to none. This will be auto-generated by room database. It will include the service, which is the name of our service we want to save the password for. So let's say about Facebook. So we want to store our Facebook password. So the service here will be Facebook. Second will be the username. This will be string. This might be null, or this might include in the password item the password itself. Also, it will be type string, and any additional note we can add. So if you want to add any additional note to the model, to the password, you can add. All right, now we should annotate this by entity. I'm sorry, I typed table. It's an entity. And now we want to type its table name as password, or you can leave it without a table name. It will take the password by default, but I prefer to type the name manually. All right, this is all for this file. Now we want to create a node data or a data access object. This is the interface which we'll be using to do the different actions we want in our project. So let's say getting all passwords, adding, deleting, all of these actions will be done from the node or from the data access object. So this will reside in the data source directory. Here we will create it's an interface which is password data access object. We can write it like this. We should annotate it by data access object, and here now we can define the various method or the various actions we want in our project. So here query, we want here to get all of the passwords we have added. So select all from password, just like this. This will be a function. Let's say get all passwords, and this will return for us a flow of type list of type password. Now why we put a flow? So flow will basically observe our changes. So when we add a password, it will automatically notify all of its usages that a new password has been added, so display it for the user. That is what flow what is about. So flow is very useful for observables usages. It's like live data, but flow. But here we used flow. Now we will be using another action, which is also we want to select here in this function. We want to get a specific password by ID. So select all, or we should be a string. So select all from password, and it will be where ID will be equal to ID. That will be creating the now. It will be suspend function. So we will be invoking this in a coroutine, Kotlin coroutine. So suspend function get password by ID. Alright, and here we pass the ID, which will be of type int. Alright, and here it will of course return for us a password. Now we have insert function, also suspend, let's say add a password. Here we pass the password that we want to add, and here let's create or let's define a property for the insert, such that what if we clicked on a password and edit it, and then hit save. So by default it will create another password, but in this case we want to replace the old password by the new one. So for this we put a property which is on conflict. We put on conflict strategy dot replace, so it will replace the old password. Another one, or the last one, will be not delegate but delete. Also suspend function delete password. We give it for it the password we want to delete. That's it for our data access object. Now let's create the database. So let's type as password database. this, or no, not here. Here we will annotate it as database, and we want to define the entities, which in this case we have only one entity, which is password. Alright, and here then we define the version. It will be on the start version 1, and here we will define a variable which is data access object. This one we have defined right here. So by that we can call these actions from data access object. So password of type password data access object, or we should make the class as abstract, and we should also extend it from room database. So by that we shouldn't have to implement all the members of the room database. Alright, and that is for the password database. And now we want to inject it into the different or in our whole projects that we want to use it. So by this we will go to the dependency injection, and here we want to provide this this component to our whole project. So for this we annotate it as provides, also as singleton to make it only one database function provides, that type as database. Alright, it will which is what we have called it, password database. Alright, and now this should have a parameter or argument as application. So the application that we are in, and now we will create this database by room.database builder, and here we pass the application we have passed as argument, and this is the class or the database class we have created before, and here the name I will hard code it to let's say or db. This is a good name, and that type as build. So this will build the database for us. Now we have a small error. What is it? Name. Oh. Alright, and here it is. Here we have provided this database for all of our project. Alright, and now we will go to implementing the different repositories. We will start by the repository for the model, the various which is the various actions that we can make in our feature. So let's type as password repository. Alright, this will be interface as we have created, and then we have all of the actions we want. So we have actions: get all passwords, get password by ID, add password, and delete password. So we will start by get all passwords, and this will return flow as we have defined before, list of password. Now we have a suspend function which is get password by id, and here we will give id as an argument or parameter, and this will return for us some specific password. Another function which is add password, and here we pass the password we want to add. Another function which is delete password, and we will pass the password we need to delete. Here it is. For this file we have finished all the coding stuff in this. We will be creating another repository but now in the data folder, and this will be the password or the repository implementation. So here we will create another Kotlin. Yes, we can put as password repo implementation, and in this this is a class, not a interface, and it will be extending from the password repository we have created earlier. And this will have a parameter. We can put it as a private val, which is the password data access object we created first. Now we should implement all of the members. This is it. All right, and this parameter is the one here that we have defined. So here when we call a function, it will look at the query to see what it should do when we call it. All right, now the password implementation, we should fill in we should replace this to do and put our own. This will get all of the passwords. So simply we can put dot password dot access object dot get all passwords, because we have defined it. Where it is, here it is. We have this will return for us a flow of list of passwords. All right, now we got the second function, which is get password by id. This will return a specific password. So also password down dot get password by id, and we pass the id. Here we will just add a password. So here we can password dot access object dot add password, and we insert the password we want to add. The delete is the same, password dot access object dot delete, and delete the password. All right, and now here it is. We have finished all of the repositories, and now we will go and provide this password repo that we have created, which is this. Let's go to the dependency injection section, and also again Untitled provides singleton for a single instance, and provides password repository, and we will pass for it the database, which is a password database, and this will be of type, will return for us a repository of type password repository that we have created before. Now we will return this class that we have defined right now. So return password repo implementation, and this, you see, it should have the password data access object. So now from where we will get this? Well, simply we will get it from the DB we have passed as an argument, password data access object, and that's it. That's it. That is all we want or we should do. Now this database, from where will it will get it? This when Dagger Hilt see parameter or an argument in the function, it will search for this type, which is password database. Does it find any function that needs to provide the same type? It will see that yes, this function has the return type as password database, so it will create this, or it will invoke this function before it will create the database, and then it will pass this database created to this argument, and now we can access all of the members of this database class. All right, hope it's getting more clearer. Now let's remove these open files. Now in the data directory or package, we have finished all of the coding related to it. Now we will start by the use cases. In the use cases, we will create classes. So the first action we want is to get all passwords. All right, and now in the use cases, we will pass a parameter of type the password repository we have created. So password repository, oh, not here, not this, password repository, this. And now we will make use of a special keyword in Kotlin, which is operator function, and another keyword which is invoke, and this function will return for us flow, which we have defined the type of it in the data access object, type list of type password. All right, so this function will be called whenever we initialize or invoke this class. So when we write get all passwords dot invoke, it will call this function and execute it. Or we can just, if we type like this, get all password, by this it will invoke this method. All right, so now what we want to do is just simply get all of our passwords we have added. So password from the password repository we have created, which is this one right here. This we have created here. We have here get all passwords. This will return all the passwords we have added. So password dot get all passwords, and this is it. This is it for the get all passwords class. Now we have a new use case, which is get password by ID. The same private val, we want password repository, also operator suspend function now, because this will be happening in a coroutine method. This will return for us password. All right, I think I have suspend, yes. So suspend should be the first keyword and then operator. I have shuffled them, no problem. All right, now we want to add this password. So the password will be passed to the invoke method. So if we type add or oh no, I'm sorry, this no, this is get password. With this we want to pass for it the ID of type int. So this will return the password we have passed the ID for. So this will return the password have the ID of this ID. So now we have this is all for this class, and now we should, or we have to create a new class which is password, the same private val. It will need the password repository as well, suspend function operator invoke, and here we want to pass the password we want to add. So here we simply type password repository dot add the password we have called. Okay, and here is the now what we can do in this class, we can check that if the user has entered at least a service and the password, so let him to add the password. If he didn't add one of them, so so it will not be added, because this is a password manager app. So at least you should have entered the service and the password you want to save. All right, so this condition should be satisfied. So we will check for password dot service dot is not blank, and the password dot password is not also blank. If these are true, then add the password. This is blank is a method just to make sure that this string is not like this, because some strings we define them to be like this, an empty string. So we don't want this to be to happen. All right, this is for add password. Now we will get to delete password. Also, let's delete password. Also the same private var password repository or suspend function, an operator, and call the invoke method. Here we pass the password we want to delete, and here we simply call the delete method from the password repository. All right, and now here are the different use cases or actions we want in our project. We want to create a last class in this package, which is a data class, and this will define the different use cases we have implement. So just add password, delete password, get all passwords, and get password by ID. So let's type it as use cases or actions if you want. So just define the different actions to have implement. Let's start by get all passwords. That's of type get all passwords class. We have defined val get password by ID, the same val add password, and val delete password. And now what we can do, instead of reinitializing all of these use cases every time we need them, we can simply define them or create them in the dependency injection only once in our whole project. So the same, annotate with provides singleton and function provides use cases, as it will create the different use cases that we have implemented, and this will take a parameter of password repository, and now it will return type of use cases, the data class we have defined earlier. And now this parameter will Dagger Hilt will look for it, and we'll see that this function has a type of password repository, so it create this first and then passed it to this function to be used. Alright, now we create or we return the different use cases. We'll start by get all passwords, which is get all passwords, and we pass the password repository, as well as get password by ID, get password by ID, get password repository, add the password, add password and password repository, as well as for delete password, delete password, password repository. And now this is ready to be used in all of our projects. Let's exit out of this file. Let's exit out of this class also. Now we have finished from the domain package. Now let's start with the presentation layer. Now first of all, we will define the different classes that we have in a Kotlin data class. So here we will define screens, and now sorry, this is a sealed class that will contain objects, and this has a parameter of type string, which is the route that will be used when navigating screens. So we have an first object or first screen, which is passwords screen. This is a type of screens, and we will give the route as passwords. Simply object add edit password screens. We will give the route as add edit password. Alright, and this is it for the screens sealed class. And now let's start with the passwords screen. So for the passwords, we should create first of all we should create the events. The events, it includes such as delete a password, or we can restore a password. So here basically what we will do, in each screen we will define the events we can make. So in the passwords, you can only the list of passwords will be listed out for you, and you can only delete password or restore deleted password. That's all, because in the password screen we'll have a button to go to the add edit screen. So now we will create this event, which will be a seed class also. So seed, we will type as passwords. Let's make it capital passwords events. All right. Now it has a direct class because we will pass a parameter for it. Delete password, and here we will pass the password we want to delete, and this is extending from passwords events. That is all right. And now we have object of restore password. So this will define the event when we can restore the deleted password. Passwords events. All right, that's it for this file. And now we will be creating which is called by password state. Password state is all about defining the list of passwords we have added. You will get it will get more clearer as we navigate or proceed to the view model. So let's create it, and here I think I have the added in the wrong directory, so let us refactor it and move, and not to the components, but we want to move it to the passwords directory. All right, and that is we have added in the passwords. Now let's create the Kotlin data class now, which is the password state. All right, now it contains the list of passwords, so passwords of type password, and let's initialize it to empty list. That's it for this file. And now let us proceed to the view model. It's a class. Let's type as passwords view model. All right, and now we don't want to define this class every time we want to use it. So better we want to Dagger Hilt to create it for us. So for this we want to annotate it with Hilt view model and inject its constructor. And now in the constructor we want to define the use case parameter that we created in the dependency injection module. So the use cases have the different actions that we want to make in this feature. So here we will type the use cases parameter, and it is of course extending from view model. All right, now we want to create a mutable state of password state, the password state we have just created. So we will create a variable which is private val, which is private to this view model as state. All right, mutable state of password state, and by default we will not pass it any list. And now we will create for it a public non-immutable state, so we can access it from other classes or files. But this public variable we cannot modify or change its value. Only we can provide for this variable, which is only accessible throughout this class. So we type password state, we define the type as state, so state will not be modifiable. It's a type of password state. It will be the same as password state. So basically what mutable state of do, so when this variable changes, the value of it changes. So let's say that we added a new node, a new password. So this password state, this we have created, the list will be changed, will be added to it one password, so it will be changed. So this variable also will be changed, and this variable also will be changed when this password is changed and we are accessing it from other files. These files that are accessing this variable will be recomposed and getting the new value. So in other words, what the mutable state of do, it notifies its usages of new values. That's what mutable state of. All right, and now we want to provide two more variables, which are recently deleted. So this variable, when this value will make us able to restore the last deleted password. So this will be type password, and it can be null. So we can delete or we can delete. So the recently deleted password may be null. And another variable which is will be the all, which is gonna be a job of type job. So we can cancel it. You will know what this variable will do just a few seconds. And now let's define the init function that will be called when initializing the passwords view model class. And in it we will call a function which is get passwords. This function will define get passwords. And now what will this do? So first of all, we will cancel the job if it's already been started. So we will cancel it. We will create a new job, so we will not have multiple jobs, only one job. And this job, what we will do, it will go to use cases. It will get all passwords, and then we have to invoke it, and on each, and this will give us the list of our the current list of our passwords, which mean the passwords we are currently having, all of the passwords. So, and by this we can modify this variable, so this variable will be also changed and notifying its usages about the new variable or new value. So we will type password equal password.value.copy. We will copy the old variable or the old value, and we will change it to the new value, which is the new list we are getting from the database. So this basically will go to the use cases, will invoke this class we have defined it later or earlier, which is here, get all passwords, will go to the invoke method and will return the all passwords from the database. This is what all about. And now we want to launch it in a view model scope. So this will this function should be happening inside a coroutine scope, which can achieve by or with the view model scope. All right, and by this the all passwords we have will be generated for us. to this value. Now the second function we want will be the on event. This will be a special function. Will on event. This will be of type passwords event that we have created before, which is that we have only two values for this event, on if we are deleting a password or if we are restoring that deleted passwords. So here we will check when, or let's keep it as event. We will check when event is deleting, or what I type for it, or delete password. So delete password, or no, let's type the parent class for it. So passwords events dot delete password. So if we are deleting that password, what we want to make, we want to launch a view model scope, to launch a coroutine scope, and we want to delete that node. So what we want to invoke is use cases dot delete password. This action we have defined it in the domain directory, and we want to invoke it, and we want to pass for it the password we want to delete. So for this we can get it from that event. So we type event dot password. Now where we get this password from, because if you take a look at the password class, here we have a parameter which is the password, we want to delete. We are passing it to this data class, and by that we can access it from this. So if the event is password events dot delete password, so here when we reach this state, this event will has a parameter of the password we want to delete. So here we can put event.password, just like that. All right. And now what we want to make, we want to make this recently deleted password the one we have deleted right here. So what we can do here, we can do recently deleted password will be equal to the event or event.password to the currently deleted one. So if we are restoring the delete one, we will restore this one here. Now we have a second event which is restoring the deleted password. So it is restore password, and when we are restoring password, we want also to launch a coroutine scope, and by that we will invoke use cases dot add password, and we will not password it even dot because restore password doesn't have a parameter. It's an object, so it doesn't have a parameter of the deleted one, and by that this is why we have created a recently deleted password. So this is cached in our app. So when we delete password, it will be cached inside this variable. So we can just add this deleted one, recently deleted password, and by that because this password might be null, this recently deleted might be null, but in this case, because when we are trying to restore a password, we are already deleting the password, so it will not be null, because when we delete, this will not become null and will be the deleted password, so it will not be null. So we can safely force it to be non-null. All right. Now that is, or if you want, if you don't want to force it to be non-null, you can follow the Elvis operator in Kotlin, and here basically we will return out of this method. So if this is not null, it will add this password. If it is not, it will go after the colon and return out of this scope function. So it will not do anything. It will not add the deleted password because it is null, or it is null, sorry. And that's it. Now let's start creating the UI. Now the UI, I will be moving fast in it because this is not mainly about compose UI. It's about Mvvm and clean architecture and dependency injection specifically. But I will make sure to explain as I can. No problem. Okay. Let's create a new file with what will be the password screen. Oh, we created a file. No, a class, no problem. It's a file. So not passwords screen. All right. Now what we want to do, if you take a look at the application I made before, we have the list of the added entries or passwords, and we have a button to navigate to the add edit screen. So this floating action button will make us able to add that password. So first of all, the password screen will have two parameters, which are nav controller. To navigate to the add edit screen, we click the floating action button, and the view model of this specific screen, which is the one we created just now, which is password view model, and we can initialize it with Hilt, with Dagger Hilt right away, so we don't have to pass it when we call this composable. So Dagger Hilt will make sure to initialize it for us. Okay, now we will create a scaffold state. If I can type it, remember scaffold state, and now we will create a scaffold composable, in which this scaffold composable is a material specific component. It will from what it will give us the opportunity to create a floating action button in the right location without or with hassle free. So we don't make it manually. We position it with columns, row, and boxes, and whatever. Scaffold makes this very easily for us. Now we will assign the scaffold state we have created just now, and here we will define the floating action button we want, which is a floating action button, and here we can define the content of this floating action button will be let's make it add this one, add password. Now I will be hard coding the text. I will not put it inside a string resource data file, but if you are making a production app, you should definitely extract it into the string resource file if you want to translate it into multiple languages. But for now, I will not do it. Now the on-click function will be navigating to the add edit screen. So navigate the screens, this data class we have defined, or sealed class, sorry, and we will be navigating to add edit screen route. So this will be navigating from the password screen, the current screen, to the add edit password screen. All right. Now the content of this scaffold, we will be making a lazy column, which is a recycler view similar in view. So here we can just make lazy column, and we will pass for it the items. Now we should tell the lazy column how much or how many items we want to display in it. So for this, we will get the password lists. So val passwords equal view model dot password state dot value dot passwords. All right. So here we are getting the currently password list. So here we are getting from the view model. So view model, this of the type password state. So the password state have the passwords, which is the list of passwords. This will contain all of our added passwords. And now we pass the items or the passwords to the items index method. And now we want to make additional argument. We want to pass to the items index, which is the key. This will be I will explain for you about it later. This key is just about to make us able to animate the placements of the items in the lazy column. We will take a look about it later. Alright, and now this key gives us the index of this item as well as the index itself, the item itself. And now we want the item here is the password. So let us replace it with the password and now password dot hash key. So this we don't want it, so let's make it underscore, and this is only about to animate the placements of the item. So if we delete the item, we can animate or we drag or something like this. And now this gives us the index as well as the password. And here we can display the how we want a single item to be. And for that we will create the second we will create a Kotlin file, which is a password item in the components package. So password item, and here we want to pass for it the password. All right, and let's pass for it the modifier. All right, and now what we want to make, now we want to make a card. So it will be a card. We will pass the modifier. We will make the maximum it will be the fill maximum size, so it will cover all of the available space for it, for this item, and another property will be or modifier will be we will make clickable, and we will pass the method as parameter for the function. So here we will make on let's call it on item click. It will be a function not returning anything. So here we call the on item click. All right, now we have make it clickable. Now we can make it we can give the elevation. Let's type for dp imported, and we can give it a shape as rounded corner shape as 10 dp. Now for its column will be column, we will type it modifier dot fill maximum size, so it will cover all of the parent size. Dot we will make it padding, so it will have some padding on the start and the top, bottom, and at the end. Padding I will give it 10 dp. And for the content of the column, we first of all we will have the service, so it will be password service. This is for the first text. We will customize it a little bit, so weight will be bold, as well as the text style. Text or style, not text style. This will be material theme, dot typography. We will give it h5. Just experiment with this. I just experiment to get the best style. Now we will have a spacer, and this will also just shift the below content below that the service text. We'll shift it down a little bit, so we will make it 10 dp, or we can make it 5 dp, and then we will display the text, which is the password, and for this we will customize only the style. We will make material theme, the typography, and the password will have h6, and also we will give for the password padding start, so it will be shifted to the right more than the service. So we can pass it as a modifier dot padding, and just give padding to the start. Give us 10 dp. All right, and now we will make icon button, so we can delete the password. So the content will be icons dot fill dot delete. For the content description will be delete password, and for the delete method we will also pass it as a parameter for the function. So on item delete, also it will not return anything. So here we can call on item delete. All right, so basically that's it for this file. So now we want to call it from the password screen. So we will call as password item. That's it. We will give the password. On item click, the on item click will be we want to navigate to the add edit screen, but now we will give it other than the initial route, the add edit screen route. We'll give it a variable so it knows that so the add edit screen knows that this is coming from pressing on password item, so it will fills the passwords content to the text fields we will create next. So it will now navigate to screens, to add edit route, and which is plus. Here we will define the argument, the additional argument, and this is how we do it in compose. We will call the argument as password ID, so we will get this password by ID from the database, and then fill its content to the text fields of the add edit screen. So it will be equal to the password dot ID. So here it is. Here we will make it as a value, so password dot ID, and that's it. All right, and now what we want to make, we can and here we have the on delete. This is the on delete, or let's remove this from here and put on the on delete as an argument. And here we want to delete the password. So what we could make, view model on event, which is passwords events dot delete password, and here we will pass the password we want to delete, which is the password we are currently in. So that's here. All right, and now also we talked about the key that is for animate placements, but we never consume it. So the consume it, we want to call modifier dot animate item placement, and here we should opt in for experiment foundation API, because this is an experimental API, so we should mark this as an experimental foundation API, and that's it. So here when we delete the password, it will be deleted with a simple animation. This is what animation and key will do together. All right, let's test the password screen first of all. So we didn't create the add edit password screen, but we will test it one by one, or screen by screen. All right, this is the final project I have made before. All right, let's continue. Since it could take some time. Hopefully no problems. Or it will not, it definitely will not display anything, because as you can see, the password screen screen, the password screen is not yet called. So to call it, we will go to the main activity, and here it is the entry point of our project. So we will delete all of these composable, and now we will set up the nav host, the navigation. So nav controller, remember nav controller. Now we will create the nav host. We will pass the nav controller. Now we will type the start destination. So compose need to know what is the start destination or project. This will be screens dot passwords dot route. Alright, so this will be the entry point of our project, and here we should define the routes in our project. So screens password screens dot route. This will be the passwords screen we have created. We will pass the nav controller. Alright, and this is for the password screen. Now we have another composable, which is the add edit screens, add edit route. Alright, and now we should or this will have, as we said before, this will have the add edit password, and maybe it will be it will have the password ID. So if the user press on a password, it will go to the add edit screen with a password ID. If the user clicked on the add button, it will not have the password ID. So we will pass argument as optional, so it might be given or not. So we will type password ID is equal to so this is relatively similar to what we do in web development, if you are familiar with it. So if you want to pass variables in a URL, you would type like this, and it will be passed as a variable. So this will type also as password ID, and that's it. Now we will define the arguments. We want to make compose aware of the arguments passed in this URL. So arguments is list of arguments, and we have nav argument. We have the name. We simply just copy this, and now we define the various properties of it, such as the type. This will be int type, as well as if it has a default value. So it has a default value, yes, we will make it as -1, and we will talk why -1 when we get to the add edit screens. Alright, and now we want to define the add edit screen composable, but yet we don't have created it, so we will create it before we test it. So it is, we will type name as edit and edit password screen, for example. Let's refactor it and move file to the yes. All right, and now here it is, and here we define our composable, which is add edit password screen. Make sure to delete this extension, and here it is. Now we can go to the main activity and define the add edit password screen. All right, that's it. This is it. Now let's test it. Hopefully everything is correct. All right. All right, and here it is. Obviously, no passwords are there because we are not yet adding any, but we have the floating action button, which will navigate us to the add edit screen password, but we don't have any content to it. So that's it for this part. This part 1 we have covered what is Mvvm, clean architecture, and dependency injection. We have made the password screen, and in part 2 we will implement the add edit screen and its various content such as view model and its events and all of it. So if you found this video helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. So good luck and see you in the next part.